Hey all, so this is the last video that we'll have. It's on views and sheets before we go ahead and take our practice exam for the Revit certification. So in this one, we're going over view sheets, annotations, kind of a wide array of things. To start out with, I want you to go up to view on this bar up here and then go over to sheet. So sheet composition, new sheet. When you click on that, this dialog box will come up and I want you to select this title block. Hit OK. So a title block is going to look the same more or less on every sheet of your drawing. The name, your project name won't change, but the sheet title will change and the sheet number will change. So under project name, I want you to click, and here you're going to type in your name and then tutorial. Under author, you're going to put your name. Under owner, you're going to put BDS. So again, I'm just clicking one time and writing into each of those. Here it says unnamed. Normally I put in like floor plan or perspective. We're going to put various views on here. So I don't have a great name for this. Let's just call this tutorial views. And we can leave the number as 101. Under date and issue date, so those I can't change here. I have to change them in my project settings. So I'm going to go up over here to manage. And then where is this again? It's under, okay, so under project information. So over here, kind of towards the left, project information. And I'm going to go down here to issue date, and I'm going to put in today's date. So today is 2/5. And that's all I'm going to put in and hit OK. And then notice that change. This will change when I print the file to whatever the, oh, sorry, no, actually, that just labels if that's the date. Okay, and the scale will populate when you put in a drawing. So for example, let's put on our first drawing. I'm going to come over here to my level 1 floor plan from the project browser. I'm just going to click and drag it in. And you'll notice that that scale came up, that this is at 1/8 scale. Right now, this drawing is not cropped, so it takes up a very large bit of my paper. So I'm going to need to crop it. Now that this view is here, I need to double click to get inside of that view. So I'm going to double click, and now I'm inside of that view. Then I want to come down here to my view toolbar, and I want to crop the view. So I click on that. My crop box is not small enough, so I'm going to show my crop region with the button next to that. It has that little light bulb on it. And then I'm going to click the rectangle out here, and I'm going to drag in the bubbles to get my crop region much smaller. I'm dragging that in all the way around. Then I'm going to turn that back off and double click outside of it to get out of that view. And I can click and drag it to move it. The title of this is all the way down here, and I want to move it up. So I have nothing selected. I'm going to now select this, click and drag it up. You'll notice that the tail of it goes a long way. To fix that, I select it. So I click once, and then this bubble shows up, and I drag that bubble in. Now I have my level 1 view. Let's bring in 2 more views. Let's bring in a section and an elevation. So I'm going to go to my project browser, scroll down to my sections, and I only have one section here, so I'm going to click and drag that on. This is also at 1/8 scale, so I'm going to put that on, and I have my section. If I double click, I can hide this, the crop box, so I can go over here, hide my crop box, and then double click outside. Okay, and then let's put on one more drawing. Let's put on the elevation of this. So that elevation is here. I believe that's going to be my west view. I can hover over it and it'll tell me. So it's elevations west. So I'm going to go ahead and drag my west elevation onto the sheet as well. Now I'd really like these to be aligned. So if I kind of click and drag, you'll notice that that aligning line there. I'm going to let those align. I'm going to move this up a little bit because I'm trying to fit them all on one piece of paper. So I can click and drag that to move it up. And so I'm close to them fitting, but it doesn't quite fit. So I think I'm going to get rid of the bottom of this. I'm going to double click on here. I'm going to show my crop region. I'm going to drag this up so I just have the floor in there. And then double click outside. I can drag that up. Okay, so now I have those drawings all on that paper. Now, one other thing that we haven't talked about yet is our detail views and annotation views. So just like we take details of our hand drawings, you can make a detail of one of these drawings in order to explain it more on here. So for example, let's say that I wanted to show more about how this stair met that landing. I could double click on here. I can hide this crop region again. Okay, so I can create a call out to do a detail of that. So I would go over to view, call out, click and drag here. I like to move the bubble around. So this is a reference label, a tag that tells me where that drawing is. Okay, and this drawing, if I look over here, building section, it's going to be at 1/4 inch scale. Okay, so I'm going to double click outside. And then I'm going to drag that drawing on here. So I'm going to come over back to sections, and I have section 1 call out. I'm going to drag that on. And here you'll see that I have that a little bit bigger, and I'm going to make it even bigger than that. I'm going to double click and bring this scale up. So your scale of your drawing lives in the properties panel. Right now it's at 1/4 inch scale. I'm going to bring that up to 1/2 inch scale, and it'll make the whole drawing bigger. Once it's at that scale, I'm able to add in more detail. So I can use annotation lines to do that. So I would go over here to my Annotate tab, and there's a couple of different tools in here. I'm not going to go over how to actually draw the section of the stair going into the landings. It's a little bit more complicated than I want to get, but I want to show you how to use 3 different tools. The first is a region, filled region. So I click on filled region. I can change what the outside of it is here, so I can change it to wide lines. I can then go over this, so I can, actually let's not do that. So let's say I want to show all these landing pieces of a certain material. I can trace that, and maybe it really wants to have like a rounded edge as opposed to what's shown. I'm going to move this out. I'm going to hit the green check mark, and then you'll notice that this is not a modeled thing. This is just in 2D. I can come over here and I can change what that hatch is. So I could make it, for example, a wood hatch, which probably makes sense for a stair. I can also change the color. So if I go to edit type, I can duplicate this. I can make it any color I feel like. I'm going to make this one blue. And then you can also change what the pattern is. Like under foreground fill pattern, I could pick a different pattern and hit OK. There, I picked a good one. So then I can copy this, so CO, and I can copy this over to each of my stairs. So CO, and I'm going to copy it from the nose to the nose here. And then maybe on this level, I'll have that wood continue, so it kind of looks a little bit more continuous. I'm going to bring this in. Okay, so that was the first thing, a filled region. The next thing I'm going to show you is just a regular detail line. So usually railings extend past here, and I should, in faith, I should correct the railing. But I'm just going to use a detail line for now to do it. So if I go to detail line over here, I can change the thickness of my line here, and then all my regular drawing tools are here. So I could come here, bring it out 1 foot. So click, type in 1 foot, hit enter. And I'm going to bring this all the way down to the floor, come over 2 inches, and up, bring that over I have a couple of tools I can use. So if I, for example, had those crossing over each other, I can go to modify, and I can use this tool, the trim extend tool, and I click on the pieces I want to keep, and that'll fix that corner. So there I put those in with detail lines. And then the last one I wanted to talk about are detail components. So again, go to annotate. And here I'm going to the detail line, region, detail component. So if I click the down button here, I can put in a detail component, and these are preloaded, so you can load in more. But we're just going to use this one, the W12 by 26. So I can click here. Where would this make sense? I'll put it like right towards the edge here. And then that will show this structure coming through. So you can bring in all kinds of different details that are pre-drawn. Essentially, it's basically like pre-drawn annotation things to do that. So now this floor thickness doesn't look quite right, so I'm going to hide that. So I'm going to right-click and go to Hide and View Elements. And then I'm going to redraw in the support here, just with the detail lines. Going to Detail Line, Thin Lines, and I would draw that over. All right, so that's all I'm going to do for this. Oh, and I can dimension here, should have said that. So I can use dimensions, but leave them in place. We've done this already in this project, so I'm going to get an align dimension from the floor line up to the top of the handrail, so I know how high that wants to be. So a detail gives you more information. So here I can see there's a stair in the section, but when I go to my detail drawing, it tells me more about what that stair looks like, that there's wood on the top, that it has support, and it tells me the height of that handrail. So I'm going to double click outside, and now I just need to find a spot for this in my sheet. So I'm going to drag my level 1 down, and then right now I don't have other elevations, so I'm going to hold down Control to click more than one thing at a time. I'm going to right click and do Hide and View Elements. It's not going to get rid of those elevations, it's just going to hide them for now. And that will allow me to bring my plan down further and bring this up. Finally, I'm bringing my detail over here, and I'm bringing this up. So where it says Section 1 Call Out. I'm going to click on here and rename this. So under here, I can go down, and it says Title on Sheet. I'm going to change my title on sheet to Stair Section, or Stair Landing Section. Detail. Okay, and it says the new scale there. So you'll notice that each of these has the scale on them, and it has to say scale is indicated on here because all these drawings no longer have one scale that's the same. I want you to also notice the view references. So when I look at my floor plan, I can see now this says A1013. This means on sheet A101, so it's on this sheet. Detail 3 gives me that elevation. So detail 3 is here, so I know that that is the elevation of that. Over here, so one thing with sections, I usually like to break them. So I click them, I click on this little zigzag, and I drag these out, just so the lines are a little less confusing to look at. Okay, so this is telling me this section is on A101, so this sheet, and it's detail 2. So I know that this section is here. And then finally, the call out you'll notice is also labeled, but it's detail 4 in this sheet, which is over here. So everything on here looks great. We talked about views, we put our views onto the sheet, we dealt with the titles, and we added some annotation. You now are going to print this. So you go over here to File, Print, and you're going to print it to Adobe PDF, or it might be something like Microsoft, OneNote, whatever the PDF option is on your computer. For print range, you're going to go to Selected View and Range, and you're going to select the sheet. So this sheet is A101, so you check that box, A101 Tutorial Views, hit Select, then you go to Setup, first under Settings. Here you want to be a tabloid, landscape. Centered on the page is fine. You want to zoom to 100% of size so it doesn't mess up your scale. You can leave it color, and you can leave it vector processing. And it's good to hide reference work planes and hide unreferenced view text. So I think that should be all of it. So now I hit OK, It's asking if you want to continue, say yes. And then whatever this comes out, mine has, this title is just fine, so I'm going to hit save. And here's my completed sheet. So please upload that completed sheet to Google Classroom for this assignment.